Now, where we had left off in our last video, we had just rounded out a 3-day weekend and the Alberta Overland Expo had come to an end. We said goodbye to all of our friends in their Ember RVs and we went out in our separate ways. Johanna and I decided to head over to Edmonton to visit some plant stores and take in the more populated areas of Alberta before we returned to the remote areas of camping out by Abraham Lake, the ice fields, and Banff itself. We had a fun moment where our trusty Ember RV, affectionately named Max, reached a significant milestone. There it is, 20,000 kilometers on the Ember. There it is. It hit 20,000 kilometers in less than 2 years of ownership. We spent the night at a truck stop that we found on Overlander. We actually registered there and paid $10 for a spacious spot. This ensured that we wouldn't disturb any hard-working truckers. There was a lot of extra spaces there. Linus, don't go on the road. Johanna, where are we?
Blackjack's Roadhouse Bar and Grill.
So yeah, you can stay here in your RV if you'd like. It's only a $10 fee. Just check in at the hotel and you can just go park in the truck lot. I mean, $10 just to park in a truck lot. Well, I'm sure I could just find a free one that I could sort of park at, but now I've got a little tag, so that gives me legitimacy and I can relax in the morning and I don't have to worry about getting rousted or stepping on someone's toes. And it's a truck stop with a decent menu, so we're ordering some food. We're going to take it out to the trailer, go park and chill for the night. Tomorrow is going to be a working day for me, and Johanna's going to be working her channel, going to different botanical locations. Lizzie, come here. Come here. Stay over here. Come here. Come on, you can do it. There you go. That morning, we really had a hankering for donuts, so Johanna looked around, and we were able to indulge our sweet tooth with a visit to Maverick Donuts. And we savored those delicious sugar dough treats. We spent the day exploring plant stores and capturing footage for my wife's YouTube channel, Joe's Root Awakening, which you'll see a link to in our description. And then we headed out into rural Alberta towards Abraham Lake. We ended up taking our time and we detoured to a charming small town where we visited a small dog park and talked to the locals. And then we ended up enjoying sort of a scenic drive along the farm roads rather than working our way back to the highway. It's always a pleasant thing to be able to cruise down these straight farm roads versus the highways themselves, when they all have pretty much the same speed limit anyway. As darkness fell, we finally arrived at Abraham Lake, and we took a chance on one of the first side roads we found on an Overlander. Make sure we don't get into mud. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's gonna be a long night.
Am I supposed to be recording this?
A little bit.
Okay, I'm recording it.
All right, well, we are going down a road hoping that Overlander pays off. We don't want to get stuck in mud. It is late at night. I don't want to back up down this long road. As we inched down there, we didn't know exactly what we were going to find, and unfortunately we encountered some really large puddles that made the road impassable, forcing us to pull off to the side and spend the night in the peaceful solitude of the woods. Well, good morning everyone from Abraham Lake. We're in Alberta in the eastern slope of the Rocky Mountains. We're on the other side of basically Banff, Jasper, and the Icefields Parkway specifically. We found Abraham Lake last year when we were going to the Alberta Off-Road Expo the first time, and we were rushed. Because we were rushed, we only could stop for a little while, and we were blown away at the beauty of the lake. So it's been on our list to come back here. We signed up for annual passes with Alberta, so we can park anywhere in Crown land, basically. I mean, there's obviously restrictions in places, but yes, you can just park anywhere in Crown land and camp, as long as you've paid for this annual permit. It's like a hunting license kind of thing. It costs $40 for the year per person. And it seems fairly reasonable to me, as long as we can use it multiple times. So we decided to come down this road. We found it on Overland, this spot that's supposed to be right on the lake. The road seemed realistic going in, and it was described as okay. We started coming down it, and it was a little rocky, and it was nightfall. We pushed hard, so it was like 9:30 at night by the time we got here. Nothing like exploring off-road in the middle of the night. So as we were coming down this road, we were taking it slow. It was looking good. It was only 600 meters from the main road out to the edge of the lake where we could camp. But we got about 200 meters, maybe 300 meters in, and then all of a sudden we found this. We found a series of mud puddles that I just wasn't willing to try to go through at 9:30 at night. I've looked at them in the morning. I think I could actually make it out to the water here. I took a branch and kind of felt around in the puddle, and it looks like it's actually only an inch or two deep. However, there are some really great spots coming up, spots that are very easy to pull into. And the cost-benefit analysis says, I'm out here alone, the trip's almost over, and do I really want to get stuck in mud? We decided to pull over and just park here. It's quiet, you know, we're in the woods, we had space for the Starlink. And since I've been here, not one person has gone by. So if I did get stuck, I'd be out here on my own. I have to call in help. So, you know, decided not to do it. It's a beautiful spot where we stopped. It's been quiet. There's no one around here, so I decided to fire up the generator this morning just to top off all the batteries. So soon we're going to take off. I'll probably find a better spot before my workday begins. It's only like 7 in the morning, and since I work on the West Coast, I've got an extra hour because here in the mountain time zone. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the RV soon. We're going to turn around in this spot. It's one of the reasons we stopped here, as we could see we had enough space to turn around. And I'm about to show you one of the most gorgeous lakes I have seen in Canada. Even though we probably could have made it through those puddles, in the morning, we carefully maneuvered our way out of the muddy situation, utilizing our backup camera and some strategically placed cones. And we set off early in search of a better camping spot. So before I turn around, I want to make sure to go figure out, can I go into these bushes? Am I going to run over a fire pit where there's probably pallet nails, things like that? And can I pull back here? And so, you know, I always carry 2 cones. And the reason I carry those 2 cones is sometimes to block off a parking space if I'm in a parking lot, to make sure nobody blocks me in. Sometimes I stick it out. If I'm sticking out in the road a little bit, I'll put it out. I use them all the time. I think everyone should carry a couple. In addition to having plastic emergency triangles, 3 of them that you should always have. These are very quick access, right? I leave them in the back. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spot out sort of a gate for me to drive through. Here, I'll show you. And now we get out and look, because you should always get out and look. Our first attempt, it took us down to this precarious location at the edge of a lake. We decided to just go for it, and when we got down there, we realized now we had to figure out how to turn around. Eventually, we did turn around. It's a nice thing about the Ember. I've never really been stuck anywhere that I wasn't able to get out of.
Well, it looks flatter ahead of us.
I know. Honey, I need a bit of width. Fortunately, we found a more suitable spot at the official campground right next to the lake, and it was after Labor Day, so the campground was fairly quiet and peaceful, with only a few other campers scattered throughout the area. It's a little windy out, but I'm going to try to talk anyway. This is a great little tripod. You can grill on it, you can slow roast on it if you cover it with tinfoil, like I just did with the ribs. And one thing I like to do after I've slow roasted the ribs, right before I take them off, I like to cut them up, lay them out with the open side down, let a little more fat out, and get them a little more crispy. I like my rib just a little on the crispy dry side, but still juicy on the inside. I ended up setting up my office using the Ember Overland's Flex Space, which really provides me a lot of extra storage and a workspace for my computer, as well as a small extra area for the kitchen.
This is one of the things I like about my flex area, my 191 MSL here, is that I can use this room as a room. I can use this room as an office. And the bathroom door, if you open it all the way, becomes the office door. So I can block off the light and some of the sound for my wife, who's still sleeping.
Our dogs were enjoying this trip, and our newest dog, who's been around for quite a few years, Linus, he seemed completely unfazed by the trip, and he was also completely unfazed by the slide-out mechanism. When we had to pull in our slide-out, he just rides along blissfully unaware. Before we got to the national parks, we made a quick stop at the last liquor store in Alberta and loaded up with a little bit, since the booze is a lot cheaper and a lot better in Alberta than when we cross over into BC. Last big liquor store in Alberta. Load up. That day we embarked on a scenic drive along the Icefield Parkway, and I had to pause a few times for meetings along the way and to do work. And there was one particularly awkward moment occurred at Bow Lake, where I had pulled up thinking it looked very quiet and a great place to do a meeting while sitting outside. And while I was set up on the Zoom session, I had an entire busload of tourists unload and stand just outside of camera range right next to me. My coworkers never knew, but it was pretty awkward to be standing there with 20 tourists taking photos 5 feet from me.
That's right, this is my office today. I just finished doing some meetings. We did early morning meetings at Abraham Lake, and then we drove in here into the Banff area, and now I'm at Bow Lake. And I just did some nice meetings with that as my backdrop. I had a lot of tourists standing around me while I was in my meeting, but that's okay. Now we're gonna head on down to a Lake Louise overflow campground. It's basically a cheap dirt parking lot, but it's cheap. And we can stop there, I can do more work, and we'll make dinner before we head towards home in the hot springs. We might do a day in Banff, maybe go to the Banff Museum. Haven't quite figured that out yet, but let's see.
That evening, we spent the night at the affordable $14 Lake Louise Old Overflow lot. It's a little gem we like to camp at. It's definitely no frills, and you have to leave in the morning. You're not allowed to stay more than one night, but it's a real cheap way to stay in the Banff area. That day we ventured into Banff, I was actually able to park the trailer, and we were able to go indulge in some shopping. We captured some footage for some plant videos, and we were able to savor some delicious treats at a local bakery.
And so here we are in Banff, Alberta. If you've been to Park City, Utah, if you've been to Whistler, you've been to Banff. Now the surrounding area is uniquely beautiful for sure, but the town itself is, you know, another place to spend a whole lot of money. Decent and high-end restaurants, nice cars, not a lot of RV parking. Yeah, it's very code controlled, so everything's wooden based, and clearly you're not going to put up a neon sign in this town. But it's obviously a beautiful town though. You'll come here, you'll enjoy yourself. Real good walking town. There is lots of parking if you don't mind walking a few blocks. So we're gonna go to a bakery now.
We made a few stops along the way to admire the whole stunning beauty of Banff National Park. I can't drive through that area without stopping at a few key areas that we always like to stop at. That evening, we stayed at an overpriced RV park in Golden, BC. It was nice to have the long black tank flush and a water refresh while we were there, so it was worth the cost, but I'm not going to endorse it by saying where it was. It was fine, just overpriced. And we can't drive through or near Revelstoke, BC without stopping off at Canyon Hot Springs. It's a really low-key and affordable hot spring. It's perfect for a relaxing soak in the beginning or at the end of our trips. It's certainly not fancy, but it's really easy to get in and out, and they've got simple RV parking. My wife and I have made a habit of stopping there.
Probably a good idea.
Go. Ready? You recording?
Yep.
Get busy living.
Do it again.
Get busy living.
And
get busy living. There you go. Hey, welcome to RVs Gone Wild. We're here in Revelstoke, British Columbia. Let's get on to the first video.
Another stop along Highway 1 that we can't resist is stopping off at both the Dutchman Dairy and the Fruit Mart, which is basically right next to each other. The Dutchman Dairy, which is an operating dairy, allows you to go and see the cows up close. Sometimes you get to pet the calves. And then you can indulge in their delicious cheese and ice cream that they make there. And then you can go across the street and lit up the RV with all the fresh produce from that nearby market. Since we're usually going home, we stop here. We always like to load up with some extra ice cream from the Dutchman and a whole bunch of vegetables. That lasts us into our first week back home. And we never really like to arrive home late in the day, so we spent one last night in the rest area.
Well, hey everyone, it's the last day of the trip. We stayed at the Britton Creek Rest Area, which is in the Coquihalla. You know, it was a quiet night. We're probably the loudest RV here since we had the generator running last night. Topped things off, ran out of propane in the middle of the night, but I had a spare tank in the back, so, you know, the little things of RVing. But that's it. We're heading home. We decided to crank last night. I think we pulled in here at like 10 p.m. Not usual, but had a lot of caffeine in me, so we decided to keep going. And now we're basically 2 hours from home. So Johanna's gonna stop by a couple of plant stores on the way home, and then we're gonna go unload, and we're gonna call this trip done.
We had said goodbye to Alberta and had a fantastic time with our Ember friends. We immersed ourselves in the Alberta overlanding community, and we got a whole bunch of new memories that I know we're gonna remember forever. Alberta is a real special place, and we hope to spend a lot more time there in the future.